Morning. It's August 7th, about 11 a.m. in the morning, and I'm going to start my inspection of the horizontal hive. This one's a horizontal. It takes about 21 frames. Takes about 21 frames, and I kind of like it simply because it's of its ease of use. There are some pros and cons to it, and we'll get into that in a minute. What I'd like to do right now is take you around to the front of the hive. So if you come over here, head to the front, and we'll take a look at the front of the hive, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So if you zoom in on the front of the hive, you'll get a close-up of the you'll get a close-up, and as close as you can without it blurring, you'll be able to see that at this point these bees are sort of just guard bees. They're walking around the front of the hive. At this point they're just flying in and out. The foragers are starting to do their job. I put a reducer on with a little bit of an opening because the robbing seemed. I put it on when the robbing started a week or so ago, and then I turned it a little bit to create that little extra entryway. As you can see, bees are going in. I've got some pollen substitute out and about for open feeding, but at this point I'm looking to see if there's any pollen, if they've started collecting any yet. I do know bees are over there because I looked at them this morning, and we'll go into the hive in a minute. So this is what the front looks like. As you can see, these bees look pretty healthy. I don't see any agitation. They're doing a pretty good job guarding. They're watching for bees, and these are all worker bees. As you can tell by their size, they're smaller bees. They're in this phase where they're actually guarding. And at some point, there's one that just went in that had a pollen sac on it. I don't know if you were able to catch that, but that was really good. I saw one going in. Hopefully, there's another one that just went in over there that had a pollen sac go in. So at this point, I'm going to come around the back of the hive and start talking about what's going on there. But take a look. There's a few that's going in, and they do have pollen sacs on their legs. That's a good sign. So at this point, we're going to come around. At this point, we're going to come around, and I'm going to get the hive opened up, and we're going to start our inspection. And so at this point, if you didn't hear me the first time, I'm going to open up the hive and start inspecting it. I'm going to give them a little puff of smoke. I'm going to start on this end here at first. But before I start my inspection here, I want to make a comment about this particular Langstroth hive. So give me a second. All right, got my smoke going. And this is opening the hive from the back. And as you can see, this hive has inner covers. That's one of the pros of this type of hive, is that because it has an inner cover, I can open one section of this hive, as you're getting ready to see me do over here. I can open one section of the hive and just a little smoke, and the other section is closed off. Now, I got this hive because I wanted to, it's a flow hive. This part of the hive, if you can zoom in a little closer, this part of the hive is a flow, and so far I'm disappointed, to be honest. I was hoping that they would actually collect and store honey in here. I'm not really seeing any signs that they're doing that. And the idea was to be able to come in with a spigot, draw down a jar of honey if I wanted it, or if I lost it, if I sold a jar of honey, I could come out here, and if there was honey in here, I could just take the spigot, replace that jar of honey I lost on the stand with a jar that I could just easily collect from here. And so far that's not happened. And I'll tell you what I'm suspecting is the problem. Let me pull this one back out again. I don't know if this design is really conducive to having them come over here because of this. This is the queen excluder. Next year, as you can see, this is a division board, and then, but I'm not sure they're working their way over into there. Next year, I'm going to try this again next year, but I'm going to take out the queen excluder and just leave the frames. If it doesn't work then, my objective at that point will be to simply take these flow hives out. I've got a flow hive box anyway, and maybe I'll try it with that one. And so we'll see. I mean, the year's not over yet, but at this point I'm not very encouraged by what I'm seeing in terms of the flow aspect of this. But there are good points to this hive. As you know, this is August, and because it's August and we had so much rain, and there wasn't much of a honey flow going on, and as a result, all right, so if you want to zoom into the inner cover, you can see the bees moving around the inner cover. They seem quite calm today, which is good. And I'm going to start to move my way. Over here I expect to see nectar being gathered, or syrup, because I did have to do some feeding when we went into I call it the mini dearth because of all this rain and stuff we had. So I'm going to put this here for now, out of the way. And as you can see from that, what I was showing you, these are all worker bees. Zoom in a little bit, you can see that they're walking around the top. I'm going to give them a little bit of smoke, kind of encourage them to go down in there, and not a lot. You really don't need a lot. They can be pretty, when they're calm like this, I don't use a lot of smoke. Here's another advantage of a horizontal. I've got a divider board that divides this hive off from the part of the hive that I'm not using. And that makes it easier where if I had a Langstroth and I took the cover off and I was going in, I'd probably go to this second frame to pull out and slowly, and then start working my way over. And the reason I do the second frame is because it's typically the easiest one, and I can pull it straight out. Usually the queen's not on that because this is where they're storing nectar and capping honey and stuff like that. So these two frames over here would be the two that I would work with, and I would come out really slow. And I'm just going to demonstrate it a little bit, I would take this second one, and I would just, if I'm working a Langstroth, I would come up with this second one really slow, like that. And if you come to the side, you'll be able to see from the side angle. If you come to the side, you'll see that now this one, I put this back in hoping they would kind of clean it up. They haven't gotten over here yet. And as a result, if you zoom in, you'll be able to see they're just starting to actually pay attention to it. And so, I'm going to leave it for them to continue. I've got a feeder in here. The other day when I went in, it was a little bit low. Now it's empty, so I will probably put some more syrup in there, because as long as they are working the syrup, I'm going to give it to them. Like I said, I'm starting to see some Queen Anne's lace. I think that's what it's called. And I saw some bees on that this morning. So hopefully that's going to be another source of nutrition for these guys. All right, so if you give me a second and a little bit more smoke. All right, guys, head on down. And now I'm going to start my frame inspection from this direction. And this one, I'm going to take a look at it real quick, and then we'll zoom in on it. This they've started capping some of this honey, and that's good. So if you take a look, you'll see that the bottom part is uncapped, so that hasn't been cured yet. This part has been capped, which says to me that it has been cured. Now, I put some smoke on. They could be in here, they could be adding in, or they could be just drinking, because you know that analogy that when you think your house is on fire, you get your prized possession. In this case, it's food for those guys to get through a new location. On this side, you'll see if you zoom in that this is fully, this is full of nectar, and they just haven't capped it yet. And so I'm going to put this down in here like so. I'll turn it back. I'm going to turn it back around like it was, because that's the way they had it. And so I'm still outside of the brood nest at this point. And I haven't seen a reason to actually, oops, something hit my hand and made me panic a little bit. There's a bumblebee on my shoulder. He's not part of the hive. He's just there for fun. And so this one right here, give me a second, I want to take a look at it. This has also got nectar. Now, so far, I'll show you in a minute, but so far, I've been looking for drones. Drones are kind of large, and you can tell because they have really big eyes, and bigger than the workers, and they're larger. They're a little fatter looking, if you ask me. It's August. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing, at least on this side, drones yet. But I am seeing, so if you take a look, zoom in, these are all worker bees that I can see from what I can see here, except for possibly, no, that's a worker bee too. There are no drones on this frame from what I can see. However, there is something, if you zoom in here, as much as you can, make sure it's a good close-up, what you'll see, and that's the other thing, this one wasn't framed. I think they drew this out. I think this didn't have wire. But if you take a look, if you come in and look here, that is a queen cup. I just want to make sure I'm not going to call it a cell. What I want to do is look in the bottom. It's empty. So if you zoom in so you can see the bottom of the cell inside of it. Let me turn it this way. Maybe that's better. So you can see, ooh, I don't want to lose the wax. If you zoom in there, you'll be able to see the inside, and there's nothing in there. You have to get really close to see it, but there's nothing in there. And so this one, it got kind of hot. This frame is heavy, so I'm going to put it back, and because I don't want it to break off on me. And I think next time I'll wire that, because normally the ones that I want to keep as brood, I don't always wire because they don't get as heavy, but they put nectar in that. And so that's one of the things I will improve upon. That one won't be That'll be a brood frame in the future, for sure. Um, Here's the inner cover, and this is where we're going to start to see, I'm going to start approaching the brood. As you can see, the number of bees on top. This hive looks pretty healthy if you ask me. They're moving around, they're working. I'm going to put this one over here, and I'm going to switch the one that was over here. Like I said, one of the advantages is the ability to literally cover each section that I'm working with in such a way that I can get to. And so, a little bit of smoke, not a lot, just enough to keep them going down and keep them from getting agitated. So now I'm going to start with my next frame. Hold on, let me just check something here. I want to make sure that I'm working my way over. Here we go. If you zoom in, listen to that sound, that hum. I call that a nice hum. If I had opened this hive up and there'd been a roar coming from it, I would have been concerned, because then I would have been questioning whether or not there's a queen. Because it's been my experience, when I've got a queenless hive, these guys are agitated, they're fidgety, they're moving around. And here's another frame, and it's got a ring of honey capped over here. There's some brood that's kind of spotty in this. I'm wondering if this is one of the frames that, if you come in and zoom in really close in here, you're going to see eggs and some larvae. But you got to come in and zoom in so that you can really see down into that cell, because that's important. That you're only going to see it if you can zoom right down in there. You should see white, and then you should see a little white that looks like a C shape. Those are the eggs. That indicates to me that that the queen's been here, because I got 5 to 6 day, 3 to 4, and then I've got I've got the eggs that are laying in there. So that's a good sign to me. I'm going to bring it in a little closer so as you can zoom in. On the other side is a little bit more solid. You know, if you zoom in, let me take a look and then I'll have you zoom in. Yep, some of this that it looks spotty, but that's larva that hasn't been capped yet. So if you zoom in really close, you'll see that there's a ring of nectar up here, and so they're going to put the brood is going to go in down here, and I'm looking to see, yep, the nectar, which will become honey, is capped all the way around. If you zoom in really close, you'll be able to see eggs and larvae in there. Especially larvae is going to be the most visible, and that looks pretty good. So at this point, I'm in the brood part of the hive, and hold on a second, about to lose a piece of it. I'm in the brood part of the hive, and what I want to do is, don't drop it. There we go. Get those guys moved over, and I kind of like to do a little smoke as I go, just to kind of keep them, because in a minute I'll move the board, this further board over. I just need to be able to get in here and work a little bit. And so here's the other frame, and this one I'm going to move over to the other side, because I don't know, that brood is separated out. I don't like that. And did I just kill a bee? Yeah. But yeah, this is full of honey. And so, to me, the best thing I can do here is move this. Yeah, take a look. It's full of honey. I'm going to move this one over to the outside and move that other one that had brood in with the rest of the cluster. Not sure how that happened, but it could have been when I was manipulating the hive a week or so ago. I might have moved them in the wrong direction. Alright, here's the other one. So far, I have not seen the queen. I'm not really looking for her, because what I'm really looking for is a sign that these guys are working and that the eggs are laid. The hive looks pretty healthy. Look at how they're covering that. The other thing I want to do is look underneath. I don't see any swarm cells. In my opinion, swarm season is probably over. I would be surprised if I got to that point, but I got another flow coming. Like I said, at Queen Anne's Lace, I've seen some early goldenrod. And so if you zoom in, you'll be able to see. And I'm going to look again. I'm still trying to find a drone. I haven't seen the queen. The queen, you would know her. She's marked in here. I believe she's marked in here. And you would know her because she would be bigger than all of them. She's got a very enlarged abdomen, and she would be moving around laying eggs, looking in the hole and checking the cell size and laying the appropriate size egg. So depending on the cell size, she's going to make a decision as to whether or not it's going to be a worker or a drone. At larger cell size, and I used to have, I had earlier in the year, in the spring, as an IPM management, mite management, I did have a drone frame in, and I was able to pull that out. And again, take a look at the pattern, and set the, nope, I blew on it a little bit. That makes them run around. And if you zoom in, hold on, let me just check something. Yep, I see lava. Almost thought I saw a drone, but nope. And I'm checking underneath. If you take a look on this side, there's a swarm cell. Hold it like this, right there. If you zoom into that, that's a cup. I don't want to call it a cell yet. I'm going to look in, see if I can see in it, to see whether or not there's anything laid down in there. But that, if you zoom in, that's it right there. And so that's a queen cup, and that would be for if they were, it's still open, it doesn't look capped. I'll come back and check on this in a little while.